I'm from the Federal Environment Agency, which is not situated here. It's at Bismarckplatz and at Dessau. We are an agency, I told it already, an independent scientific agency of the German government. And what we try to do in the agency is, in our section, to develop a view of a sustainable Germany in 2050, going back to today, and making actual policy and monitoring to reach this goal on the long term. These two colleagues are also from the agency, Carla Vollmer and Mark Nowakowski. I'm head of these 250 people which try to find out how we can transform not only Germany in the energy part, also to a sustainable future. One of the slides I have, it's that remembering that Energiewende is nothing new in Germany. It started in the 70s. It was the oil crisis which was, for the amount of people, most important. We as an agency, by the way, were founded in 1974. We have in 2 months our 40 years. And this foundation was also part of the discussion of the future of Germany about how we can manage a future environmental sane industrialized country. Something which also was influential more in Germany than in the United States was the Harrisburg accident. Probably more Germans have looked into Harrisburg in detail than in total in the United States. I was at that time studying physics in Aachen, and in a lot of universities they started to study alternatives to nuclear. More or less at the same time, a lot of institutes were founded. I myself made 1983 my first scenario. I apologize, it was wrong. I calculated that in 2030 it is possible to deliver 30% of renewables, electricity. And we have it already in a few years. So. We had an anti-nuclear movement in Germany, also a peace movement. It was very important for later. We have a Green Party in the 80s. We have also governments with green, now we have even a minister president from the Green Party in Germany. We had 1986 Chernobyl, which was the next major impact on mixed Europe in changing its idea. Important is that in the 80s, the discussion started how to introduce renewables into the system. We had so-called 100 Dächer program, 100 roofs for photovoltaic, or 101 megawatt wind energy. We had also at the end of the 70s the worst case for wind energy, Grovian, where the classical energy industry tried to build a 2 I don't know what megawatt windmill, and it didn't work because you have to go through learning curves. You can't jump from 100 to 2.5, 100 kilowatt to 2,500 megawatt. It was a good example in the universities how you can do things wrong, and it was always quoted again. Grovian was lost a lot of wrong spent money, but the 100 Dächer program, or the later coming 1,000 roofs program, and that started that with photovoltaic, and later it started also with wind energy and that. And this is the 80s, and the 80s was the research development engineers. I was teaching in the 86 after Chernobyl. I started to teach at an university, and people trained to be engineers for renewable energy, and they told me, hey, there's no market. You are making me an engineer and I don't know where to go to job. And I said, wait, in a few years you earn more money than I. That's true now. Today they are all in job. So it's important to know that if you want to make a transition, it's not only making institution, you have to train people, you have also to start the public discussion, you have to bring the craftsmen to learn all these things. In 1990, after a long discussion, 1989 is the unification, it's not, and 1990 was the so-called Electricity Feed-in Act, which forced the utilities to buy electricity from renewables. Up to a price, it's a complicated thing, it's history, but the important thing at these was that the producer for renewable energy was made equal to a classical producer. so he could gain money. He got enough money for building the next plant. He had a payback from his investment and all the other costs.
And access to financing.
Yeah, all these things.
Right.
So it was done by the North Rhine-Westphalian Ministry of Economy. At that time, we have a monopolistic situation in Germany. Every price had to be approved by the Ministry of Economy, and this ministry at that time said, okay, we accept all the renewables calculated equal to lignite or gas or something like, which was important because the first calculations for the feed-in tariff based later on that calculation methods which were made in the 90s in these round tables and scientific ways.
It's not so different than the fixed price payments that we had in the standard offers based on the estimated price of future fuel.
Yeah.
When did that start?
In California in the 80s, we developed a policy that was based on the utilities avoided cost and a standard offer contract that had 10 years of fixed price payments and then 20 years of variable price payments, and the payments were high enough along with tax credits that it enabled the first generation of wind and solar to be built. And I always heard that maybe that's where the original idea for the feed-in tariff came
You were
from.
10 years ahead of us.
But then we stopped, right? See, the thing is, we went to sleep for 20 years.
Yes, that's good. I know. At that time, we use always two examples. The first one, Barcelona, with their roof installation program, and the second was California. And we use that as an example, and we continue building on that. Okay, feed-in tariff later was a little bit more than that. So, and then we have the 90s. I only want to go very fast through. Since 2000, we have the feed-in tariff. Since 2000, we have the so-called Atomkonsens, which means that since the year 2000, we have a consensus between the energy suppliers and the German government to phase out nuclear plants until 2024 at that time, if you look at all these calculations. In 2006, we have the 40% target for Germany, which was, by the way, a proposal of our agency. And we didn't expect it that the policy takes that. But Merkel was at that time the so-called climate chancellor and was traveling all over the world. And she took all the numbers as they are. And so we are very happy that this 40% goal is based on a scenario which we proposed. In 2010, we got the first integrated climate and energy program, which are 29 laws, which are connected together, and the goal is still reaching this 40%, and on the long term, 80 to 95% until 2050. So it was really a sectoral cross-cutting group on laws which moved the whole thing forward. And then we have 2011 or 2010. The year between 2010 and 2011 was something funny in Germany, because in 2010 some people started to think about that possibly we could not reach the goals. Then Fukushima happened, and it was almost at that time, 2 years
So
ago.
she proposed in 2010 to extend the life
right.
of nuclear
And
plants.
in 2000, and in this
And this
discussion,
was after she
Based on
had been
climate.
elected.
Right,
yes,
right.
after she has been elected, and then, but she started to lose elections,
Yeah.
and then Fukushima happened, and then a few months after that, she lost an election in Baden-Württemberg,
Yeah.
where
The Greens
Green Party.
the Greens won.
Exactly.
So that was a clear political manatical. So I always say, die Wende in der Wende in der Wende, you know, so it's first we had a Wende, then a Wende, then a Wende. Finally.
This is the fourth one.
I mean,
Yeah,
phase
I
out
don't
of
know.
the
And
phase
then even
out,
the
the
4.0.
phase out, right?
The funny or the good thing was that the government had not yet made laws. So they could go back to the already existing agreement between government and utilities. And secondly, Fukushima allowed them to shut off 8 of the oldest nuclear plants, which had the same construction than the Fukushima plants. That was the loophole the law people used. They said, okay, we have a nuclear plant, you can continue doing that, but we have new securities on top of that, and that meant that these you can't. It was not worthwhile to put that money into it. So in principle, it was closing down 8 nuclear plants in a few weeks.